I actually saw that slap coming. I saw Fu Yancy raise his hand, saw the fury in his eyes, saw the staircase behind him, but I didn't dodge. Over the past 6 years, I've long learned not to dodge. Dodging would only make him angrier, and when he's angry, it's never just one slap. I just didn't expect this slap to be so heavy. I leaned back, the back of my head hitting the stair railing, then tumbled all the way down. The world spun. The edges of the stairs dug into my body. The pain so intense I couldn't even cry out. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. When I finally came to stop, I lay at the bottom of the stairs, my vision blurred. Fu Yancy rushed down, and I thought he was coming to help me up, but he just stood in front of me, looking down at me from above, pointing his finger at my nose. If anything happens to her, I'll make you pay with your life. His voice was trembling, not because he was afraid something would happen to me, but because he was afraid something would happen to her. Su Wanqing, his white moonlight, for 6 years of marriage, she has always stood between us. Her falling ill is my fault. Her being in a bad mood is my fault. And her miscarriage, of course, is also my fault. When the word miscarriage came through the phone, I was wiping the handrail on the stairs. Fu Yancy's phone rang. He picked it up, and his face instantly turned deathly pale. Then he looked up at me with an expression I had never seen before. "It's you, isn't it? What did you do?" I was stunned. I didn't before he could finish speaking. His slap came, then came the stairs, then those words, "buried with you." Now I lay on the ground, every part of me aching, but I didn't cry. I just slowly pushed myself up and sat upright. Fu Yancy was still standing there, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He wore a dark gray shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing a sturdy forearm extended. 6 years ago, when I first met him, he was dressed exactly the same way, cold and noble. I was captivated at first sight. Now I know it wasn't aloofness. It was cold-bloodedness. Fu Yancy. I heard my own voice, hoarse and unlike myself. I didn't harm her. I don't even know where she lives. Not even the hospital knows. He paused for a moment, but he didn't apologize, just turned his face away. "You better not have." I laughed. This kind of laugh might have scared him. He frowned and looked at me. "What are you laughing at?" I leaned on the stair railing and slowly got to my feet. My whole body ached, especially the back of my head, which kept spinning in waves. But I straightened up and looked at him. Nothing. He stared at me for a few seconds, then turned and walked upstairs. "Don't go out these few days. Wait until Wanqing's situation stabilizes." His voice came from upstairs, calm as if nothing had happened. I stood where I was, listening to his footsteps fade at the end of the corridor. The living room was quiet. Nanny Lu had disappeared somewhere, too afraid to come out. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. It's already almost 11:00. I slowly walk over to the sofa and sit down. My hands are still shaking, not because I'm scared, but because I know this time it's different. Before, when he hit me, I would cry, beg him, and ask why. But tonight, starting with that slap, so far, I haven't shed a single tear. Not that I don't want to cry, but I can't cry. 6 years of tears seem to have dried up on those stairs. I sat on the sofa for a long time, listening to the movements upstairs, hearing the faint sound of him making a phone call. He was calling the hospital, his tone gentle, as if he were a different person. "Wanqing, don't be afraid. I'll be right there. It's okay. I'm here." Gentle for 6 years. He had never shown me such tenderness. I stood up and walked into the study on the first floor. It was Fu Yancy's private space, usually off-limits to me. But tonight, he was in a hurry to go to the hospital and the door wasn't locked. I opened the bottom drawer of the bookcase, which was filled with some old documents. I took out the documents and reached my hand into the drawer deep inside. I felt a small object. It was a camera memory card. 6 years ago, during our first year of marriage, after he first laid hands on me, I secretly installed a few hidden cameras at home. It wasn't to gather evidence, but just to see if he was under too much pressure outside, and that's why he became like this when he came home. Later, I discovered that no one outside was pressuring him. Outside, He was courteous and refined, admired by all as the second young master of the Fu family. Phew, only in front of me does he show that side. The camera has been kept on, and I change the memory card regularly. 6 years have passed, and I've accumulated a full box of them. This one is hidden in the study in the most concealed spot where he will never find it. I held the memory card in my palm and turned to walk out of the study. Back in the bedroom, I opened the wardrobe and started packing. Don't need too many clothes, just a few sets for changing. Make sure to bring all your documents. The bank card, the one he uses to transfer your monthly living expenses. I didn't take the card. Every penny inside would be traced back to him. My own private stash of money is hidden in the bathroom ceiling. It's what I've saved up bit by bit over the years. Money from selling scrap and from tutoring the neighbors' kids. Each amount isn't much, but over 6 years, it adds up to over 10. 0, 0, 0. I take the money out and stuff it into my bag. The suitcase isn't big, so it's packed up quickly before leaving. I stood in the bedroom and took one last look at the place. This bed I've slept in for 6 years. This dressing table I've sat at for 6 years. This mirror I've looked into for 6 years watching. From 25 to 31. From eyes full of starlight to eyes filled with dead ashes. I turned around and dragged the suitcase downstairs, walking into the living room. Aunt Lou suddenly appeared from somewhere whispering, "Madam, you Aunt Lou," I said. "You didn't see anything." She paused for a moment, then nodded and retreated again. I opened the door and a cold wind rushed in. The late night of December was bitterly cold. I dragged the suitcase out without looking back. The door closed softly behind me. Walking on the empty street, the streetlights stretched my shadow long. My phone kept ringing. It was Fu Yancy calling 1, 2, 3, over a dozen missed calls. I didn't answer. Later, he sent a text message. "Sun Yan, where have you run off to? Wan Qing is not doing well. You better get back here," and kneel down to apologize. I looked at this text message and suddenly burst out laughing. Admit my mistake. What mistake am I admitting? As I laughed, tears finally started to flow. Not grievance, but relief. Relieved that I have finally awakened. At 1:00 in the morning, I stood in front of a dilapidated security door. The paint on the door had chipped off, revealing rust underneath. A faded Fu character was pasted on the door frame from several years ago for the Spring Festival. I took a deep breath, raised my hand, and knocked on the door. Inside, there was a rustling sound followed by a woman's voice thick with drowsiness and suspicion. "Who is it?" "Sister." My voice trembled slightly. "It's me." Silence. A long, long silence. Then the door opened. Standing behind the door was a woman in an old nightgown, her hair a mess, with 2 large dark circles under her eyes. She looked at me, stunned. I looked at her, too. 6 years. A full 6 years. I haven't seen her. When I wanted to marry Fu Yancy back then, my parents objected, and so did my sister. They said, "That kind of family we couldn't possibly match up to." I was stubborn and insisted on marrying him. Later, we had a falling out. My parents were so angry. They ended up in the hospital, and my sister called to scold me in a fit of anger. I didn't come back for 6 years. When my parents passed away, Fu Yancy wouldn't let me go back for the funeral. He said, "What are you going back for?" "To let those relatives." Words. I really didn't go back. This is the deepest wound in my heart. "Sister," I called out again, and tears began to fall. Sujin stood at the door, looking at me, at the suitcase in my hand, at the injuries on my body, and at the swelling on the back of my head. I couldn't see it myself, but she could. She didn't say anything, just stepped aside. "Come in." I walk in. The room is small, just 1 bedroom and 1 living room, packed to the brim. On the sofa in the living room, a small figure is curled up, covered with a small blanket. It's a little girl, about 4 or 5 years old, sleeping soundly. Duo, my daughter." Sujin's voice comes from behind. "Your niece." I stood there, looking at the little child, tears streaming down my face. "Niece. I have a niece." Sujin walked up to me, looking at my face, at my neck, where the bruise from the fall on the stairs had appeared green. "Did he hit you again?" I nodded. She was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Go wash your face first. We'll talk about whatever it is tomorrow." That night, I slept on the sofa in the living room. Sujin brought me a blanket, old but thoroughly washed, carrying the scent of sunshine. Duo woke up once in the middle of the night, mumbling mom in a daze. Sujin went over to soothe her, her voice as gentle as a spring breeze. I lay on the sofa, listening to the sounds of mother and daughter, watching the night outside gradually fade. It was almost dawn when I finally fell asleep. I slept deeply, without any dreams. When I woke up, the sun was just right. Sujin was sitting beside me, holding a bowl of porridge. Duo hid behind her, peeking out with half her head, curiously watching me. "Have some porridge," Sujin said. "It will warm your stomach." I sat up and took the bowl. The porridge was fragrant, with minced meat and vegetables inside. As I drank, tears began to fall again. Sujin didn't say anything, just pushed the tissue box toward me. Duo peeked out from behind her mother and whispered, "Mom, why is Auntie crying?" Sujin gently patted her head. "Auntie isn't crying. It's just that sun got into her eyes." I looked up, watching them. The sunlight outside was bright. For the first time in 6 years, I felt that the sky could truly brighten. I slept at my sister's house for a whole day. When I woke up, it was already evening. The setting sun slanted through the window, casting a golden glow on the living room floor. Duo was lying on the coffee table drawing, coloring the paper with crayons in all sorts of colors. When she saw I was awake, she grinned at me, revealing 2 missing front teeth. "Auntie, you're awake." I sat up, my hair a mess, with pillow marks on my face. "Mom went to buy vegetables." Duo crawled over, leaning close to my face and looking carefully. "Auntie, why is there any green?" I instinctively touched my face. The swelling on my cheek had gone down, but bruises had appeared, purple and blue patches that looked quite frightening. Uncle accidentally bumped into me. "Oh." Duo nodded and continued drawing. "I bumped into something last month, too, right here on my knee. Mom blew on it, and it felt better. It doesn't hurt anymore. Auntie, do you want me to blow on it?" I looked at her serious little face, and my eyes felt a bit sore. "No need. Auntie doesn't hurt anymore." The door lock clicked, and Sujin walked in carrying a basket of vegetables. Seeing that I was awake, she didn't say much, just put down the vegetables. She went into the kitchen, then came out holding a cup of hot water and handed it to me. "Have some water." I took it and held it gently in my palm. After a few seconds of silence, she said, "Tell me about it." "These 6 years." I lowered my head, looking at the water in the cup. "Where to begin?" "Let's start from the wedding night." That night, Wanqing got drunk and called Fu Yanxi crying. He left me behind. I was at home, driving to pick her up. I sat in the new house all night, and he didn't return until dawn. Start from the first time you took action. 3 months into marriage, because I asked one more question. "What exactly is your relationship with Wanqing?" He slapped me so hard that my mouth bled. Afterwards, he apologized, saying he was under too much pressure and wouldn't do it again. Got it. I believe it. Start with forgiving countless times. After each time he lashes out, there will be gifts, apologies, and brief tenderness. Every time I tell myself, he just has a bad temper, but he still cares about me in his heart. Start from the year my parents passed away. That year, I begged him to let me go back for the funeral, but he said no. Wanqing was sick, needs someone to take care of her. I knelt on the ground begging him, but he turned and walked away. Later, I found out that Wanqing just had a cold. Already as I spoke, my voice began to tremble. Sujin sat across from me, silent, her face growing paler and paler. Duo had put down her crayon at some point and was listening quietly. She was too young to fully understand, but she knew that both her mother and aunt were sad. By the time I finished speaking, it was already dark. Sujin remained silent for a long time, then stood up and walked into the bedroom. When she came out, she was holding an old photo album. She opened the album and pointed to one of the photos. It was a group photo from 6 years ago, me and Sujin along with our parents. I stood in the middle, smiling so widely that my eyes curved into crescents. wearing a white dress. It was given to me by Fu Yanxi, who said I looked nice on the day we first met. He bought it specially. Remember this photo? Sujin asked. I nodded that. Day you came back and said you wanted to get married. Mom didn't agree, and Dad didn't agree either. You argued with us, saying we didn't understand. He said he truly loves you. Later, she paused. Later, you left and never came back. Mom lay in bed, constantly murmuring your name. Dad's health was already not good. Well, after that incident, things got even worse. On the day he left, he was still asking how you were doing. My tears started flowing again. Sis, I'm sorry. I'm not asking for an apology. Sujin interrupted me. I just want you to understand why we were against it back then. It's not that we dislike him for being wealthy. It's that we can see that kind of person is not someone you can handle. She looked at me, her eyes also reddening, but I never thought he would resort to violence. Nyen Nyen, this is domestic violence. It's illegal. I my head and said nothing. Duo didn't know when she crawled to my side, her little hand gently touching the bruise on my hand. Auntie, does it hurt? I shook my head and held her soft little hand. That night, Sujin applied medicine to me. She used to be a nurse, and her technique was very gentle, but it still hurt so much that I gasped for breath. About the back of your head, it's best to go to the hospital for an x-ray, she said. Falling down the stairs is no small matter. No need. You have to go. She interrupted me. Nyen Nyen, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep holding everything in. I looked at her without saying a word. The next morning, she took a leave and took me to the hospital, taking pictures, waiting for results, getting medicine. It took most of the day. The doctor said there was a mild concussion and advised more rest, not too much tired. As I walked out of the hospital, I saw a sign for a law firm across the street. I stopped in my tracks. Sis, I said, I want to find a lawyer. Sujin was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. All right. 3 days later, Imet you mean it. She was someone Sujin had known from the hospital, later switching careers to become a lawyer, specializing in divorce cases. She was in her mid-30s, short-haired, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. She spoke quickly but clearly and logically. I told her the whole story and showed her the photos saved on my phone. Every time I had been beaten over the years, I secretly took photos of them all and kept them in my private album. Ju Minute flipped through them one by one, her frown deepening. 6 years, and you've taken so many. I nodded. Why didn't you call the police earlier? Igova bitasmila. I called the police. So what? He's from the Fu family. He has connections and influence. I called the police. He came out, and I went back. Go, get beaten even harder. And I paused. I'm afraid of losing face. Ju Minute looked at me, her eyes devoid of sympathy, only holding something I couldn't understand. You know, she said slowly, I've heard these words many times. Every woman who has experienced domestic violence that's what they say. Afraid of losing face, afraid of retaliation, afraid they can't survive after divorce. She closed the phone and handed it back to me. But you're the first one to have collected so much evidence. She flipped open her notebook and started asking me questions. Did he use any tools when he hit you? Yes, a belt and sometimes an ashtray. Was there any record of the injuries? Yes. Every time I went to the hospital, I said I fell. I kept all the medical records. Were there any witnesses? The nanny. At home. Aunt Lou. She saw it many times. Ju Minute raised her head, looking at me, and a slow smile curved her lips. Su Nyen, you can win this case. As we left the law firm, light rain began to fall outside. Sujin was waiting at the entrance with an umbrella, and when she saw me come out, she stepped forward to meet me. How was it? She said she could win. Sujin breathed a sigh of relief. We walked side by side in the rain, neither of us saying a word. When I reached the intersection, I suddenly stopped in my tracks. Across the street, a black car was parked. It was Fu Yanxi's car. He was standing right beside the car, wearing a black overcoat, with rain dripping down from his head. He just stood there, watching, staring at me, motionless. My heart suddenly tightened. Sujin followed my gaze, and her expression changed as well. Nyen Nyen, sis, I took a deep breath. Take Ju Duo and go back first. Know you alone. He won't make a move here. I said. He cares about his reputation. I crossed the street and walked up to him. Raindrops hit my face. Cool and refreshing. Fu Yancy. He looked at me, his gaze as complicated as a tangle of threads. Where have you been these past few days? His voice was slightly hoarse. I've been looking for you for 3 days. What do you want from me? Want me to go back and kneel down to apologize? He paused, saying nothing. I smiled. How is Wan Qing? Is she okay now? He frowned. She's fine. It was a misunderstanding. That day, she was emotionally unstable, and the doctor said she wasn't careful enough. So, I interrupted him. You came to me to apologize. He looked at my face, at the bruises on it, and his eyes flickered for a moment. Fu Yancy, I said, you don't need to apologize. Because of your apology, I don't need it anymore. I turned to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Sun Yan, come back with me. I looked down at him holding my hand, then slowly raised my head. Let go. He didn't let go. Listen to me. I was impulsive that day. I told you to let go. He still didn't release his grip. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. Fu Yancy, do you know, 3 days ago, when you slapped me down the stairs, I thought I was going to die. I was just lying on the ground, looking at you standing there. There was only one thought in my mind. He froze. I was thinking, this man, for him, I gave up my parents, gave up my sister, gave up everything. And what happened? He wants me to be buried with him. I forcefully shook off his hand. Now, you want me to go back. Go back for what? To continue being your punching bag. The rain grew heavier, soaking both of us. He just stood there, motionless. Fu Yancy. I took a step back. Listen clearly. I won't go back. Never. I turned and walked into the rain. Behind me, he didn't follow. At the street corner, Su Jean was still waiting there holding an umbrella. Seeing me approach, she raised the umbrella over my head. Let's go, she said. Let's go home. I nodded. We walked forward side by side. I took a few steps, then couldn't help but glance back. Fu Yancy was still standing in place, like a statue. Rain washed over him, but he didn't move. I turned my gaze away and continued walking forward home. This word, I haven't used it in 6 years now. I finally know where it is. Returning to my sister's house. I was soaked through and shivering from the cold. Su Jean pushed me into the bathroom and threw in a set of clean clothes. As the hot water poured down, I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. Close your eyes and let the water flow over the bruises on your face. Her mind was filled with the image of Fu Yancy standing in the rain just now. What does he want to do? Apology? Reconciliation? Or is it just that she feels of his is lost and needs to be retrieved? I don't know and I don't want to know. After taking a shower, Duo had already fallen asleep. Su Jean sat on the sofa, holding a small object in her hand. That's the memory card I brought out from the Fu family. What is this? She asked. I walked over and sat beside her. These are the things I've collected over the past 6 years. I inserted the memory card into my phone and opened the video inside. When the image appeared, Su Jin's hand trembled slightly. It was an evening 3 years ago. In the living room, Fu Yancy stood in front of me, holding a belt in his hand. I heard no sound. The camera at that time didn't have recording capability, but the footage was crystal clear. He raised his hand and the belt came down. I curled up in the corner of the sofa, covering my head with my hands. He struck several times, then turned and left. I was alone there, and it took a long time before I slowly moved. Su Jean stared at the screen, her face frighteningly pale. The next video was of the bedroom. He pushed me to the ground and kicked me in the stomach. I covered my stomach and curled into a ball. He kicked a few times, then slammed the door and stormed out. Next, at the study door, he grabbed my hair and dragged me out of the study. My head hit the door frame, and I couldn't get up for a long time. One after another, 6 years of nightmares, all contained in this tiny memory card. When the video ended, Su Jin's eyes were red. She didn't cry, but her eyes were filled with tears. Nian Nian, I'm fine, I said. It's over. Is this what you call nothing? She pointed at the screen. Is this what you call nothing? Do you know that this stuff is enough to get him in squat for several years. I looked at her without saying a word. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself down. You know, after you left back then, Mom kept saying that you were stubborn and would surely suffer out there. Dad say she has to bear the hardship herself since she made the choice. Her voice choked up. If they only knew, you would never rest in peace living this kind of life. I lower my head. Sorry, sis, don't say sorry. She grabbed my hand. Now is not the time for that. These things, what do you plan to what should we do? I gazed at the pitch-black night outside the window. Lawyer Jew said the evidence is enough, but we need to wait for the best moment. What moment? The moment when he can be disgraced in front of everyone. In the following days, I recovered from my injuries while staying in touch with Jew Minute, discussing our next steps. Jew Minute suggested that I file for divorce and simultaneously sue Fu Yancy for intentional injury. She said, with these pieces of evidence, plus the hospital's examination, the injury record is enough to get him into legal trouble. But I don't want to go that fast. 6 years. I've endured for 6 years. It's not just about getting a simple divorce today. I want him to know that what he destroyed was what. I want everyone to know what kind of person the gentle and refined second son of the Fu family really is behind the scenes that afternoon. Su Jean brought someone back. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and simple clothes, but her eyes were bright. This is Grandma Wang, Su Jean introduced. She used to live next door to our hometown. I was momentarily stunned. Grandma Wang. I seem to have a vague memory of her. Nian has grown so much. Grandma Wang said, looking me up and down. Oh my, how have you become so thin? Su Jean asked me to sit down, then began to tell me something. 6 years ago, to be precise, 7 years ago, I was still working as a nurse in the hospital back then. One night, the emergency room brought in a young man who had fallen into the water. He was wealthy. The child of a wealthy family accidentally fell into the river while taking a walk by the riverside. I am the one who saved him that night. After my night shift, I passed by the river and heard someone shouting for help. Without thinking much, I jumped in and pulled the person out. When the ambulance arrived, I was soaked through. Someone asked for my name, and I hastily said Sun Yan before hurrying off. Later, that person woke up and asked someone to find out who their savior was. But there were several people named Sun Yan in the hospital. Some were nurses, some were patients, and there was even a janitor named Sun Yan. They inquired around and eventually found another Sun Yan, Su Wanqing. She works in the hospital pharmacy, and her name is also Sun Yan, but she is Wn Qing, while I am the single character Nian. I don't know if it was intentional or perhaps unintentionally. She became the hero who saved the person who fell into the water. Grandma Wang looked at me. Was Fu Yancy. A buzzing sound filled my mind. What did you say? Fu Yancy. Grandma Wang repeated. My son used to work as a driver for the Fu family and heard it firsthand. The Fu family's second young master fell into the water and was rescued. His savior was named Su Yan, who worked at the hospital. Later, he even went to the hospital specifically to thank that Su Yan, and that's how the two of them met. Su Wanqing. It was Su Wanqing who impersonated me. So for these 6 years, he only had eyes for her. So for these 6 years, he was always distant toward me, as if something stood between us. So for these 6 years, he always believed that the white moonlight in his heart was his savior, and I just a woman who came later and forced myself into the picture. Are you sure? My voice trembled. Sure. Grandma Wang took out a yellowed piece of paper from her pocket. This is what my son left behind back then. Mr. Fu. A copy of the thank you letter with the name of the lifesaver, Su Yan, written on it. Look, this handwriting. Is it yours? Is this the message left back then? I took it. There was a line of writing on it, crooked and uneven. A copy of the note. You're welcome. It's what I should do. Su Yan. It's my handwriting. The note I left back then somehow ended up at the Fu family and somehow someone changed the name. Su Wanqing. It's her from beginning to end. It was always her. That night, I couldn't sleep lying in bed staring at the ceiling. The thought kept swirling in my mind. 7 years. These 7 years of grievances. These 6 years of beatings and scoldings. these wounds all over my body. If she hadn't impersonated me back then, everything would have been different. Will it be different? Will he be grateful to me? Will he recognize me? Will he like me? I don't know. But at least he wouldn't treat me like a thief who stole the place of his white moonlight as he does now at dawn. I made a decision. I'm going to see her. 3 days later, I stood at the entrance of a private nursing home. Su Wanqing is here, recuperating after the miscarriage. Fu Yanxi arranged for her to stay here, hiring the best doctors, the best caregivers. I entered the sanatorium and, following the room number I had inquired about, found her ward. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed the door open and walked in. She was lying on the bed holding a book. Hearing the noise, she looked up, seeing it was me. Her expression changed instantly. You, how did you come here? I walked to the bedside and sat down in the chair next to her. I came to see you, I said. I heard you had a miscarriage and weren't feeling well, so I came specifically to check on you. She looked at me warily. What do you want? I didn't say anything, just took out that piece of paper from my bag, the copy of the thank you letter. Her gaze fell on the paper, and her face gradually turned pale. Do you recognize this? She didn't speak. Su Wanqing, I said. 7 years ago, the one who saved Fu Yanxi by the river was me, not you. Her lips began to tremble. You've been impersonating me for 7 years. For these 7 years, he's been grateful to you. He's been good to you. He's treated you as his savior, and the real savior is his wife. The wife he beats and scolds every day. She suddenly lifted her head. What do you want? To tell him. What do you think? She suddenly smiled. That smile, cold and twisted, was completely different from the gentle, white moonlight I remembered. Su Nian, go ahead and tell him. See if he believes you. It's been 7 years. How much money and effort has he spent on me? Do you think he'll believe a woman who gets beaten every day, or me? I looked at her and said nothing. She continued to laugh. Even if he believes you, so what? Do you think he'll be grateful? Don't dream. He's the kind of person who hates others the most. Deceive him. When the time comes, he'll hate you, too. Do you believe it or not? I stood up. Su Wanqing, you're right. He might not be grateful to me, but there's one thing you're wrong about. She was taken aback for a moment. I'm not here to make him grateful. I'm just here to tell you that your good days are coming to an end. I turned and walked away, stepping out of the nursing home. The sunlight outside was brilliant. I stood at the doorway, taking a deep breath. Inside my bag, my phone was vibrating. It was a message from Ju Minute Fu Group. Annual Gala, next Friday. Can you get an invitation? I replied with one word. Yes. Look up at the sky. The sky is very blue. So blue. It's dazzling. 7 years have passed. Finally, it can all be paid off. The invitation came more easily than I had imagined. Fu Yanxi's assistant, Xiao Qin, calls me every other day, begging me to go back. I always hang up, but he persevered. 2 days before the annual meeting, he called again. I picked up and said directly, if you want me back, here, give me an invitation to the annual meeting. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, clearly not expecting me to make this request. Mrs. Fu, you could have come earlier. You're a family member. I'm not going as a family member. I interrupted him. I'm going as a guest. The invitation was sent to this address. I gave him my sister's address and then hung up the phone. The next day, the invitation arrived. It was a red invitation with gold foil lettering bearing the words, Fu Group Annual Appreciation Gala, complete with all the necessary details of time and place. I looked at this invitation, and the corners of my mouth slowly curved upward. Fu Yanxi probably thought that I wanted this invitation to try and win him back. He didn't know that this was the knife he had personally handed to me the night before the annual meeting. Ju Mina came to her sister's house. We sat around the living room going over the plan for tomorrow from beginning to end. The video had already been edited and saved onto a USB drive. The recording of Su Wanqing was the work of private investigator Lara Lee, pretending to be a family member of a patient. I chatted with Su Wanqing in the nursing home and recorded her personally admitting to impersonating me. In the recording, her voice is clearly recognizable. That fool is still in the dark. Fu Yanxi thinks I saved him and has been grateful for 7 years. I just want him to be grateful to make him unable to leave me. That's Su. Nyan. What does she even count as? Oddly asked. What if one day the truth comes out? She laughed. The truth is out. Who believes it? I am the white moonlight in his heart. That woman who got beaten up. No one believes anything. The recording ended, and the living room fell so silent that you could hear a pin drop. Su Jin's face was tightly drawn. Duo had already fallen asleep and was not by her side. This woman, Su Jin gritted her teeth, is really not human. Ju Mina closed the laptop and looked at me. Tomorrow, are you sure you want to go on stage yourself? I nodded. Only if I personally place these things will they carry weight. Fu Yanxi might lose his temper on the spot. Then let him lose his temper. I said, his outburst will be the perfect show for everyone to see. Ju Mina looked at me, her eyes filled with a complex emotion. Su Nyan, she said, you've changed a lot. I was taken aback. A month ago, when you came to see me, you were still that timid, hesitant person afraid to speak loudly. Now, in what's wrong now? She smiled. Now, there's light in your eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep, not because of anxiety, but because of excitement thinking about what would happen tomorrow. My heart raced, as if it were about to leap out of my chest. 6 years for 6 years. Every night, I thought about when this kind of life would finally end. I thought about running away many times. Divorce, death, but never thought there would be a day like this stand before everyone and tear the truth open. At 2:00 in the morning, I got up to drink water and found Su Jin was still awake. She was sitting in the living room sewing something by moonlight. Sis. She looked up and waved at me. I walked over and saw her holding a red dress. For tomorrow, she said. I searched through several stores before I found this one. Try it on. I took the dress and unfolded it. It was bright red, long-sleeved, with a touch of lace at the collar. Elegant and tasteful. It wasn't a garish red, but a true red, and wearing it would be like a burst of flame. Sister, don't talk. Go try it on. I put on the dress and stood in front of the mirror. The person in the mirror I almost didn't recognize. The deep red color makes the skin appear very fair. The waist is perfectly fitted and the skirt hem reaches the ankles. Elegant and neat. On the face, the bruise has mostly faded, leaving only a faint trace of blue at the corner of the mouth. Su Jin stood behind me looking at me in the mirror. Beautiful, she said. This is how you should look. I turned around and hugged her. Sister, thank you. She patted my back. What for? You're my little sister. At 7:00 on the evening of the annual gala, the hotel entrance was lined with luxury cars with a continuous stream of guests arriving. Men in tailored suits and women adorned with jewels strolled gracefully down the red carpet, smiling under the flash of cameras. I arrived by taxi. When I got out of the car, the driver gave me a few extra glances. Probably couldn't figure out why someone dressed like this would take a taxi. I walked toward the hotel entrance in my high heels. I handed over the invitation, and the doorman bowed, respectfully, saying, Madam, this way, please. The banquet hall was on the splendid 3rd floor. The moment I pushed open the door, the noise inside rushed toward me. The crystal chandelier was dazzling, and the long table was covered with flowers and delicacies with waiters in tuxedos, weaving through the crowd, carrying trays of champagne back and forth. I walked in. No one noticed me. Fu Yanxi stood in the center of the crowd, dressed in a black suit, elegant and aloof, chatting and laughing with several guests. Su Wanjing held his arm, wearing a light purple gown, smiling gently and charmingly. What a perfect match. I found a spot in the corner and sat down. The waiter approached, and I picked up a glass of champagne, not drinking it, just holding it in my hand. At 8:00 sharp, the banquet officially began. The host took the stage and delivered a lengthy opening speech. Then came speeches from the leaders, the shareholders, and various other speakers. I waited. 9:00 arrived, and it was time for the award ceremony. Fu Yanxi, as the vice president of the group, stepped up to the stage to present the annual Outstanding Employee Award. Su Wanjing sat at the first table, looking up at him with admiration in her eyes. At 9:30, the award ceremony ended and the free exchange time began. I stood up through the crowd. Step by step, I walked toward the stage. Someone began to notice me. Who is that? I don't know. Never seen them before. The one in red looks familiar. I ignored the whispers and walked straight onto the stage. The host was stunned. The audience below was also stunned. Fu Yanxi raised his head in the crowd, saw it was me, and his expression instantly changed. Su Yan, how? I ignored him and walked straight to the microphone. Good evening, everyone. My voice echoed through the banquet hall via the speakers. My name is Su Yan. I am Fu Yanxi's wife. The entire audience erupted in an uproar. Fu Yanxi's face turned ashen as he strode toward the stage. Su Yan, come down. I looked at him and smiled. Fu Yanxi, don't rush. I'm here today to give a gift. I took the USB drive out of my bag and handed it to the stunned staff member beside me. Please, play it. The staff member instinctively took the USB drive and plugged it into the computer. Fu Yanxi had already rushed onto the stage, trying to pull me back. But it was too late. The large screen lit up. The first scene is from that night 3 years ago when he was whipping me with a belt in the living room. The entire room fell into deathly silence. Fu Yanxi's hand froze midair. The scene shifts. In the bedroom, he kicked me. At the study door, he dragged me by my hair. On the stairs, he slapped me. The slap, that one from a month ago. The entire process of me tumbling down the stairs one after another 6 years of nightmares unfolding before everyone's eyes. Some in the audience began to gasp, some covered their mouths, and some took out their phones to take pictures. Su Wanqing sat at the first table, her face pale and her lips trembling. The video finished playing. Then came the audio recording. Her voice came through the speakers. That fool is still in the dark. Fu Yanxi thought I saved him and has been grateful for 7 years. I just want him to be grateful. The whole place exploded. Who is this? Isn't that Su Wanqing pretending to be a lifesaver? That's too cruel. Su Wanqing suddenly stood up, wanting to run out. But the reporters had already surged forward, surrounding her tightly. Fu Yanxi stood on the stage motionless. He looked at me, the emotions in his eyes too complex to describe. Shock, anger, and something I couldn't understand. Su Nian. His voice was so hoarse it didn't sound like his own. Is all of this true? I looked at him and suddenly smiled. Fu Yanxi, it's been 6 years, and this is the first time you've asked me if it's true. He froze. Every time you took action, did you ever ask? Every time I begged you to believe me, did you ever listen? Now you ask. It's too late. I turned around facing everyone in the audience. Everyone, I stand here today not to seek revenge against anyone. I just want you to know that some people where I have lived with a mask for many years and I paused for a moment. I've worn the mask of forbearance for 6 years. From today onward, I will wear it no more. I stepped down from the stage. The crowd automatically parted to make a path. Step by step, I walked toward the door. Behind me, there were the sounds of noisy discussions, the voices of reporters asking questions, and Fu Yanxi calling out Su Nian. I didn't look back, walking out of the hotel entrance. The night breeze blew over, cool and refreshing. I raised my head and looked at the stars in the sky. It's strange. The stars are especially bright tonight. Su Jin was standing at the door waiting for me with a taxi parked beside her. She looked at me, her eyes red, but her lips were curved in a smile. Nian Nian. I walked over and hugged her. Sis, I did it. She patted my back. I know. I always knew you could do it. The taxi drove away from the hotel. I saw from the rearview mirror that a large crowd surged out of the hotel entrance. The reporters chased after them. Looking around, Fu Yanchen stood at the front, his suit buttons askew, searching for something. He was looking for me, but he would never find her again. The Su Yan who could be slapped down the stairs and still not leave had already died. The one alive now is a different Su Yan, a Su Yan who would never look back. After the night of the annual party, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Strange numbers kept calling one after another. Reporters, people from the Fu family, all sorts of inexplicable individuals. None of them answered, so I eventually turned off the phone. Su Jin didn't go to work either. She took a leave to stay home with me. Duo was sent to a neighbor's house, temporarily fearing that these events might frighten her. Look, Su Jin handed me her phone. It's number 1 on the trending topics. I take it on the trending list. A few words stand out. Hashtag Fuyanchin's Wifere ports real name. Hashtag Su Wanqing impersonates Tizavire hashtag. Clicking in. It's all video clips of me from the annual meeting. That's surveillance. Footage of the slap was taken out and shared separately. The number of views has already exceeded 100 million. The comment section went wild. Is this even human? How can someone hit their wife like that? It's been 6 years and she's made so many videos. This woman is incredibly patient. That Su Wanqing is even more disgusting. Pretending to be the savior and stealing someone else's husband. Fu Yanchen, come out and apologize. As I read these comments, I couldn't quite describe what I was feeling. Was it satisfying? A little, but more than that, it was a hollow calm. Duo Minute called, her voice tinged with laughter. Sun Yan, you're famous now. I know the Fu family has approached me, she said, wanting to settle privately. You can name your terms. I remained silent for a few seconds. What did you say? I'm saying I can't make the decision on this. You'll have to ask the person involved. Then you tell them, I said, looking out the window. I don't want a private settlement. I want the law to give me an answer. Ju Minute paused for a moment, then said, okay. After hanging up the phone, Su Jin leaned in. What did she say? The Fu family wants to settle this privately. Did you agree? I shook my head. She breathed a sigh of relief. That's more like my sister. In the afternoon, there was a knock at the door. Su Jin went to open it, and outside stood 2 people in police uniforms. Excuse me, is Ms. Su Yan at home? My heart skipped a beat. I am. The police officer walked in and showed his identification. Ms. Su, regarding your report of Fu Yan, she's intentional assault. We need your cooperation to take a statement. Is that convenient? I nodded. Convenient. That afternoon, in the living room, I recounted every detail I could recall from the past 6 years, one by one, to the police. The first time he touched me, the last time he touched me, and how he apologized after each time. I am how to forgive. The policeman's expression grew increasingly grim as they left. They said this, evidence is sufficient. We'll file the case as soon as possible. I walked them to the door. One of the police officers glanced back at me. Ms. Su, you're very brave. I was momentarily stunned, then smiled. Thank you. The news of Fu Yan, she being taken away, came the next day. Ju Minute called, saying the police were waiting at Fu's house, and he had just returned from the company when he was taken away. A reporter took photos and posted them online. I opened the photo. He was wearing that dark gray coat, being escorted by 2 police officers. Head down, his expression unclear. A crowd surrounded him. Some people were holding up their phones to take pictures, while others shouted, "Abusive husband." I stared at the photo for a long time. This man I loved for 7 years, hated for a month now. Looking at him like this, I feel neither satisfaction nor sadness. Nothing at all, like a stranger appearing in the news. Su Wanqing wasn't faring much better, either. The incident of impersonating a lifesaver was thoroughly exposed by the media. Her past misdeeds were dug up one by one. In college, she plagiarized others' papers. At work, she took credit for others' achievements. And after getting together with Fu Yanxi, she schemed against me. Some even claimed that she had dated several boyfriends before, each of whom was completely deceived by her. The stock price of the Fu Group dropped by 20%. Shareholders began to demand accountability, calling on the Fu family to provide an explanation. It is said that Fu Yanxi's father was so angry that he ended up in the hospital, while his mother went around asking people for help, trying to cover up the incident, but it couldn't be suppressed anymore. In the internet age, nothing can be hidden. On the 3rd day, Ju Min brought a new piece of news. Su Wanqing has also been summoned, she said, for fraud, impersonating a savior, gaining the Fu family's trust. And over these 7 years, Did you get a lot of money and things from Fu Yanxi? Those can all be counted as fraud amounts. I was momentarily stunned. Fraud, yes, Ju Min said. Your case is more serious than she imagined. It's not just a moral issue, it's a legal one. Over these 7 years, what she has taken from the Fu family might add up to several years in prison. I looked at Ju Min, momentarily at a loss for words. I waited 6 years for this day. When it finally arrived, it felt unreal. That night, Su Jin prepared a full table of dishes: braised pork, sweet and sour ribs, steamed sea bass, and my favorite, tomato scrambled eggs. Duo sat beside me, one eating while stealing glances at me. Auntie, she whispered, have those bad guys been caught? I patted her head. Yes, they've been caught. Will they come back? I thought for a moment. No, they won't. Duo laughed, revealing her 2 missing front teeth. Great, then Auntie can stay here forever. I looked at her, my eyes getting a little moist. Yes, Auntie will stay here, forever. That evening, Su Jin and I sat on the balcony, watching the city lights. It was very cold, so Su Jin covered me with a blanket. What are your plans next? She asked. Ju Min said the divorce lawsuit would be decided soon. The evidence of domestic violence was too strong, and he had no room for defense. As for the division of property, I can get my rightful share. And then, I looked at the distant scattered lights. Then, I want to do something. What is it? Help women like me, I said. Those who are victims of domestic violence, too afraid to speak up, and don't know how to escape. I want them to know that someone can help them. Su Jin turned her head and looked at me. She didn't say anything, but there was a light in her eyes. What's wrong? I asked. She smiled. Nothing. It's just that I feel my little sister has grown up. I smiled, too. Sis, I'm already 31. Even at 31, you're still my little sister. We leaned against the balcony, gazing at the night. It was very cold, but our hearts felt warm. A week later, Fu Yanxi's case went to trial. I didn't go. Ju Min went and told me about the proceedings when she came back. He stood in the defendant's dock wearing the gray uniform of the detention center, his hair shaved into a crew cut, and he had lost a lot of weight. The aloof and noble second son of the Fu family was gone. His lawyer argued for innocence, claiming it was a family dispute, not intentional harm, but the videos were too damning. Every frame was ironclad evidence. The judge pronounced the verdict in court. Guilty of intentional injury, sentenced to 2 years and 8 months in prison. Su Wanqing's case was heard later. The fraud amount was determined to be 1-2 million, and she was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Both of them went in. Ju Min said that during the sentencing, Fu Yanxi kept looking toward the gallery. He was looking for you. I said, what does he want with me? Ju Min said, I don't know. Maybe she wanted to see you one last time. I didn't say anything. See me one last time. No need that me he had long since killed with his own hands. 3 months later, my divorce case has been decided. I received my rightful share of the Fu family's assets. Not much, but enough for me to start over a studio on the day the sign for the Warm Light Anti-Domestic Violence Public Welfare Center was put up. Many people came. Ju Min came. Su Jin and Duo. Here she comes. Aunt June, who somehow heard the news and came. 2. There are also some people I didn't know before. There I came here, specifically after seeing my story online. There was a girl in her 20s standing at the door, crying continuously. I walked over and asked her what was wrong. She said, Sister, I'm just like you, but I'm not as brave as you. I took her hand. It's okay. Take your time. I'm here. You can come to me anytime. She nodded, tears streaming down her face at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Ju Min asked me to say a few words. I stood at the doorway looking at the faces before me. Some I recognized, some I didn't. Some had come to offer blessings, others to seek help. My name is Sun Yan, I said. 6 years ago, I thought marriage was the beginning of happiness. Later, I realized it was the beginning of the nightmare. The crowd fell silent for 6 years. I was beaten countless times and scolded countless times. I dared not speak up. dared not run away, dared not tell anyone person because I'm afraid of losing face, being laughed at, and not being able to survive after divorce. Later, I realized the most terrifying thing isn't being unable to survive after divorce, but that if I don't get divorced, I will die. My voice trembled a little, but I didn't stop. This center is called Warm Night. I hope it can become a beam of light shining into those dark corners. If you are going through what I've been through, please remember. I looked at the girl who was still crying. You are not alone. Someone can help you. There is light that can shine in. Applause broke out. The girl walked over and hugged me. Thank you, she said. Thank you for letting me know that I can escape. I patted her back. You will. You definitely will. By the time the crowd dispersed, it was almost dark. Ju Jin took Ju Air Duo and went back first. Ju Min took on a new case and left in a hurry. Aunt Yin chatted with me for a few words and then left as well. I stood alone at the door watching the sky gradually darken. Then, I saw him across the street. A black car was parked. Fu Yan Si stood beside the car. He was wearing a plain jacket. His hair, slightly longer, but still very short. He was extremely thin, his cheekbones protruding. He just stood there looking at me across the street through the dusk of evening. He took a step forward. I turned, pushed open the door, and walked in. The door closed behind me. Outside the window, in the twilight, that car was still there, but I didn't look back again. Fu Yanxi stood outside for a long time. I didn't check the time, but by the time I finished tidying up the studio, turned off the lights, and was ready to leave, it was almost 8. I pushed the door open, and a cold wind rushed in, making me instinctively tighten my scarf. The car was still there. He was still there. I locked the door and turned to walk toward the bus stop. Footsteps followed behind me. Then his voice. Sun Yan. I stopped walking, not turning back. Something wrong. He walked up to me and stood under the street light. Up close, I realized he looked even more disheveled than I had imagined. His eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes, chapped lips, his whole body like a withered tree struck by frost. I got out, he said. Early release. I didn't say anything. I want to talk to you for a moment. I looked at him. Speak up. He opened his mouth, but it took him a long time to get the words out. Those videos, I've seen them. The guards showed them to me while I was inside. I didn't know before, but it turns out I hit when you were. That's how you looked. I waited for him to continue. I know it's too late to say anything now. His voice was terribly hoarse, but I still want to tell you, I'm sorry. Sorry. Those 3 words came out of his mouth, lightly, like a falling leaf. I looked at him and suddenly found it absurd. Fu Yanxi, I said, do you know how I feel when I hear those 3 words? He paused, taken aback. It's like hearing a stranger say, sorry for stepping on your foot. It doesn't hurt or itch. It's completely meaningless. His expression changed slightly. I know I don't deserve to ask for your forgiveness. Then why are you here? He was stumped by my question. After a long silence, he finally said, I don't know. I laughed. You came even though you don't know. I just wanted to see you. He looked up at me, to know if you're doing well. I looked into his eyes. Those eyes I had searched for my reflection in them countless times, but each time all I saw was indifference, impatience, and disgust. Now, there was finally something else inside, but I no longer wanted to look. I'm doing fine, I said, 100 times better than when I was with you. He lowered his head. That's good. He turned around and walked back. After a few steps, he suddenly stopped and said something to me with his back turned. Sun Yan, if there's a next life, I'll be good to you. I watched his retreating figure and slowly began to speak. Fu Yanxi, this lifetime isn't over yet. Don't talk about the next one. He froze, then turned around. I looked at him. In this lifetime, what you owed me, the law has reclaimed for me. I don't hate you, nor do I forgive you. It's just, I paused. Stop. It's just that you have nothing to do with me anymore. He stood still, motionless. I turned around and walked toward the bus stop behind me. His voice came. Sun Yan. I didn't turn around. The bus arrived and I got on, finding a seat by the window. The car started and passed by him and I glanced at him. He was still standing there like a statue. The street light illuminated him, casting a long shadow. I turned my gaze away. The night view outside the window rapidly receded. Street lights flashing by one after another like markers of time. A month later, the Warm Light Center received a special request for help. An elderly woman in her 60s who had been beaten by her son for 30 years. Her son was a minor manager at the Fu Group after Fu Yanxi entered. He was laid off, began drinking heavily, and when drunk, would beat his mother. When the old lady arrived, she was covered in injuries, her eyes swollen to mere slits. "Girl," she grabbed my hand. "I heard you can help people here. Please help me. I don't want to live anymore, but I'm afraid if I die, he'll have no one to take care of him." I looked at her, my heart aching with pain. 30 years. For 30 years, she was beaten by her own son. Yet she still worried about whether anyone was taking care of him. I poured her a cup of hot water, sat beside her, and listened to her talk all afternoon. As I left, she kept saying, "Thank you." I said, "No need to thank me. It's what I should do." That night, I sat in the office for a long time. The city lights outside the window were bright, and behind each lamp, there was a home. But not every home is warm. Some homes are hell. I told Ju Ming about the old lady's situation. She helped contact legal aid and got social workers involved. 1 month later, the old lady's son was taken away for mandatory drug rehabilitation, and the old lady was sent to a nursing home. When I went to visit her, she was sitting in the courtyard, basking in the sun. Her face had regained some color, and her eyes were no longer swollen. "Girl," she held my hand. "Thank you." I crouched down and held her hand. "Auntie, if you need anything in the future, feel free to reach out to me anytime." She nodded, her eyes reddening. Walking out of the nursing home, the sun was shining brightly. I stood at the door, taking a deep breath. This is what I want to do, not waiting for someone to save me, but saving others. After Fu Yanxi was released from prison, he couldn't stay at the Fu Group and went to work as an executive at a small company. I heard he's doing okay, but it was never as prosperous as before. Su Wanqing is still inside. I heard she performed poorly and had her sentence extended by several months. These things were occasionally told to me by Ju Minei. I don't inquire, nor do I want to know. But one day, Ju Minei brought a message that left me stunned. "Fu Yanxi is investigating what happened back then," she said. "He found the person who altered your note." I looked at her, saying nothing. It was Su Wanqing who bribed the hospital staff. That person is still at the hospital and has been found by Fu Yanxi. He hit Su Wanqing for fraud, adding to the prison's sentence. "Why?" I asked. Ju Minei shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe his conscience got the better of him." I remained silent for a long time. "Whatever," I said. "It has nothing to do with me." Ju Minei nodded and said nothing more. That night, I received a text message from an unknown number. Only a few words. "I'm sorry and thank you. I know who sent it." I didn't reply. Deleted. Days passed one by one. The Warm Light Center is handling more and more cases, and I can't manage them all by myself. So, I hired 2 volunteers. One of them had previously experienced domestic violence and, after overcoming it, wanted to help others. The other is a recent university graduate who studied social work and wanted to gain some experience. Aunt June still comes often, bringing some homemade dishes and chatting with me. Her little flower shop is doing well. And Lu Chin Fong occasionally comes, too, but he doesn't talk much, just sits nearby, listening to our conversation. Once, he asked me, "What are your plans for the future?" I thought for a moment and said, "Just like this, doing what I love and helping those I can." He nodded. "Pretty good." I looked at him. "And you?" He smiled. "Me, too, doing what I love, being with the people I should be with." He glanced at me, and there was something indescribable in his eyes. But I didn't ask some things. Not asking is also an answer. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. What did Fu Yanxi mean by sending that text message? "Sorry, I understand. Thank you." For what? Thank me for saving him back then? Or should I thank him for making him see Su Wanqing clearly? I don't know, nor do I want to guess. Let bygones be bygones. The moonlight outside the window shines and falling beside the pillow, white like frost. I close my eyes and sleep deeply, no dreams. in the spring of the following year. The warm light center took on a case that surprised me that afternoon. I was organizing documents in the office when the door opened. Volunteer Xiao Lu walked in looking somewhat strange. Sister Sue, someone is looking for you. Who? She hesitated for a moment, then said, someone from the Fu family. I was taken aback. Someone from the Fu family. Let her in. The woman who entered was in her 50s, well-kept and dressed appropriately, but there was weariness in her eyes. I recognized her. Fu Yanxi's mother, the woman I had called Mom for 6 years. She stood at the door looking at me, her lips moving, but it took her a long time to speak. Sun Yan. I stood up and pointed to the sofa. Sit down. She sat down, clutching her handbag with both hands, looking somewhat uneasy. The once aloof Mrs. Fu now seemed like an ordinary old woman. I poured her a glass of water. What can I do for you? She looked up at me. Sun Yan, I'm here to apologize. I looked at her, saying nothing. I know everything about what happened back then. Yang Shihai hitting you, Wan Qing impersonating you, and even my own of the matter. Her eyes were red. You married into our family those years, and I wasn't good to you because I thought you were marrying up, that you weren't good enough for my son. Looking back now, I was really foolish back then. I'm listening, not interrupting. Later, Yan Si went in, and I was alone at home watching those videos every day. As I watched, I cried. How come I never realized before that you were living this kind of life? She wiped the corner of her eye. Sunwan, I'm sorry. I know it's too late to say this now, but I still want to say it. I looked at her and remained silent for a long time. Mrs. Fu, I said, I accept your apology. She raised her head, a flicker of hope flashing in her eyes. Then, but I don't need it anymore. Her expression froze. I'm not saying your apology is useless. I paused. It's just that I no longer need someone else's apology to prove what's done is done. Those 6 years have passed, and they're gone. I don't hate you, nor do I resent you. But to say I forgive you, no, I can't on. She looked at me, and tears finally streamed down her face. I understand. She stood up, walked to the door, then turned back. Sunwan, you've changed a lot. I smiled. People always change. She nodded and pushed the door open. Walking inside, I stood by the window, watching her figure disappear around the corner of the street. The sunlight was lovely, shining on the windowsill, warm and cozy. Xiao Liu poked his head in. Su Jia, are you okay? I shook my head. It's fine. Go back to work. After that day, the Fu family never came again. But something else surprised me. Su Wanqing was released from prison early. Ju Min told me this news while I was having lunch. My chopsticks paused midair, and I was momentarily stunned. Her sentence was reduced. Good behavior, Ju Min said. She actively reformed herself inside and managed to get her sentence reduced. But after getting out, life is still it's tough. Her case back then was too big of a scandal. No one dared to hire her. I heard she's now working at a supermarket, living in a basement room. I listened, but didn't say anything. Would you like to go see her? Ju Minna asked. I thought for a moment, then shook my head. No need. Ju Minna nodded. True, let bygones be bygones. But some things aren't something you can avoid just because you don't want to see them. A week later, I saw Su Wanqing at the entrance of the Warm Light Center. She was terribly thin, wearing old clothes, her hair tied up casually, with not a trace of the former white moonlight beauty on her face. She stood at the entrance, and when she saw me come out, her eyes flickered for a moment. Sun Yan, I stopped in my tracks. Something wrong. She walked over and stood in front of me. I want to say a few words to you. I looked at her. Go ahead. She opened her mouth, but tears came first. I'm sorry. These 3 words, when spoken by her, felt completely different from when Fu Yanxi said them. What happened back then was my fault. I shouldn't have impersonated you, shouldn't have schemed against you, shouldn't have. She paused, shouldn't have watched you being bullied and laughed on the side. I looked at her without saying a word. During these 2 years inside, I thought about these things every day. I wondered how I became like this, how I could have done those things later. I figured it out. She lifted her head and looked at me. Because I envy you. Envy me. Yes, She wiped her tears. Your parents love you. Your sister treats you well. And you saved someone without leaving your name. And me, I have nothing. I can only rely on deception. I thought that if I deceived someone, it would be mine. But later I realized that things obtained through deception, eventually it's going to have to be repaid sooner or later. I looked at her, a complex emotion welling up inside me, not hatred, not forgiveness, just a sigh of emotion. The person who once made me grit my teeth in hatred now stands before me, looking as wretched as a stray dog. Su Wanqing, I said, did you come just to tell me this? She nodded. Then, I understand, you can go now. She froze. You don't blame me. Blame you for what? I looked at her for taking something that wasn't yours, for making me suffer a few more years of hardship, for destroying my 6-year marriage. Her face turned pale. Those matters have already been decided by law. You spent 2 years inside, and I've gotten justice. As for the rest, I paused. Stop, I said. I don't have the strength to hate anymore. She stood there, tears streaming down. Then what can I do to make it up to you? I thought for a moment. Yes. Her eyes lit up. Live well. Don't hurt people anymore. She froze. I turned around, pushed the door open, and walked in. The door closed behind me outside the window. She remained standing there for a long, long time that night. I mentioned the incident to Su Jin after hearing it. She fell into a long silence. Nien, Nien, she said, you've really changed. I looked at her. Better or worse? She smiled. Stronger. I smiled too. Sis, you know, I used to think that being strong meant being able to defeat others. But later I realized that true strength is when those things can no longer hurt you. She nodded. And now can those things still hurt you? I thought for a moment. Sometimes it hurts, I said, but I won't cry. She took my hand. That's good. Outside the window, the night was gentle. Duo ran over, climbed onto the sofa, and squeezed between the two of us. Mom, Auntie, what are you talking about? Whispering secrets. Sujin pinched her cheek. I want to listen, too. No, children can't listen. Duo pouted, but soon her attention was drawn to something else. She pointed out the window. Mom, look, stars. We look out the window together. In the city's night sky, there are indeed a few stars twinkling. Is it pretty? Sujin asks. Duo nods vigorously. Beautiful, like little diamonds. I looked into her sparkling eyes, and a gentle feeling welled up in my heart. This little one is my niece. There will be many more days like this in the future. A family together. So good. In the 3rd spring, Warmlight Center moved to a new home. The place is twice as big as before. Located on the 12th floor of an office building in the city center. Floor-to-ceiling windows, plenty of sunlight, and a view of most of the city. On moving day, many people came. Du Min brought a flower basket. Aunt Yin gave 2 pots of pothos. And Lu Chinfeng helped move things all day long. Those few former seekers also came. Some bringing fruit, some bringing homemade snacks, and others just coming to help. Xiao Lu ran back and forth, sweating profusely from exhaustion, but he kept smiling. In the afternoon, everyone had left. I stood alone in the new office, gazing at the scenery outside the window. The sunlight fell on my face, warm and gentle. The door was pushed open, and Sujin walked in, carrying a thermal lunchbox in her hand. I knew you hadn't eaten yet. She placed the thermos on the table. Hurry up and eat. I made you a pork rib soup. I sat down and opened the thermos. The aroma immediately filled the air. Sister, you're so kind. She sat opposite me, watching me eat. Take it slow. No one's rushing you. I was sipping my soup when I suddenly remembered something. By the way, where's Duo? She's at school. I'll pick her up after class. I nodded after a moment of silence. Sujin suddenly said, Nien, someone asked me to pass a message to you. Who? She hesitated for a moment and said, Fu Yanxi. The spoon in my hand paused for a moment. What did he say? He said he's leaving, going somewhere far away, never coming back. He wants to see you one last time before he goes. I stared at the soup in the bowl, silent for a long time. Sis, I said, do you think I should go? Sujin thought for a moment. Whether you go or not is up to you, but if you ask me, I'd say go and settle this last bit of business. I looked up at her. Why? Because she took my hand. You deserve a real ending. Not running away. Not pretending it never happened. It was watching that door close with my own eyes. I looked into her eyes and didn't speak for a long time. Then I nodded. Okay. The meeting place was chosen by Sujin, a quiet tea house on the old street in the east of the city. She said it was close to where Fu Yanxi lived and convenient for me to go back. When I walked into the tea house, he was already there, sitting by the window, wearing a gray jacket. He looked a bit older and more ordinary than before. Seeing me come in, he stood up, somewhat awkward. Sun Yan. I sat down across from him. Speak. He looked at my face, his eyes holding many things, but those things I could no longer understand. I'm leaving, he said, going south. There's a company there that wants me, and I might not come back. I nodded. That's good. After a few seconds of silence, he added, before I go, I just wanted to say a few words to you. You speak. He lowered his head and looked at the teacup in front of him. These past 2 years, I've thought a lot. I've thought about the past, about how I treated you, and about how I became that way. He looked up. Later, I realized it wasn't that I had changed, but that I had always been this kind of person. It's just that no one had ever made me reveal my true form. I listened without speaking. Sun Yan, you saved me. I hurt you. You waited for me for 6 years, and I made you wait a lifetime. These words, I say, no amount of apologies will help. His eyes were a bit red, so I won't say it anymore. I just want to tell you that, from now on, I won't appear in front of you again. He stood up, took an envelope from his pocket, and placed it on the table. This is for you. I looked at him, without moving. It's nothing valuable. It's the diary I kept inside. I want you to know how I've spent these years. Come over. He pushed the envelope towards me. Whether you look at it or not is up to you. He turned to leave. Fu Yanxi. He stopped in his tracks. I stood up, looking at his back. That letter. I won't read it. He turned around and looked at me. I picked up the envelope and handed it back to him. It's not that I don't want to know how you spent those years. It's that I feel it's no longer necessary. He was stunned. What happened between us has been settled by the law. Time has passed, and I've let it go in my heart. What remains is yours, not it's mine. What you owed me has been repaid. What you owe yourself, you must repay. He held the envelope, standing motionless in place. Fu Yanxi, I said, take care. I turned and walked out of the tea house. The sun was bright outside, shining on the old street, casting a golden glow across the ground. I walked slowly along the street, reaching the corner, and glanced back. He was still standing at the entrance of the tea house, watching me from a distance. I waved at him. He waved back. Then I turned around and continued walking forward without looking back. 1 year later, the Warm Light Center opened its first branch on the other side of the city. It's still called Warm Light, just with a 2 added in front character. On the day the second store opened, I stood at the entrance, cutting the ribbon, looking at those familiar faces. Sujin, Duo, Ju Minute, Yun Ant, Xiao Lu, and all those who had helped me before. Duo has already started primary school, with 2 little braids standing in the crowd waving at me. He smiled here. After the ribbon-cutting ceremony, the crowd dispersed. I stood alone at the entrance, looking up at the sky. The sun is shining brightly, warming my body. Sujin walked over and stood beside me. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking, I said, that 3 years ago at this time, I was still in that house waiting to be beaten. She didn't speak, just took my hand. Now, look, I said, gazing at the brand new sign in front of me. I have this. She smiled. And me. And Duo. I also smiled. Yes. And you too. That night, I came home and received a letter. The envelope had no sender's address, only my name. I opened it, and inside was a photo. The photo shows a sea, clear and blue. By the shore, there is a large rock on which sits a person with their back to the mirror head looking into the distance. There is a line of text on the back of the photo. I'm fine. You should be fine, too. No signature. I held that photo for a long time. Then I put it in the drawer along with the other things and locked it away. The night outside the window was deep, but the city lights were bright. Duo was doing her homework in the living room while Sujin was washing dishes in the kitchen. The TV was on playing an unknown variety show, and bursts of laughter came from time to time. I stood by the window, watching it all. My heart is full. 3 years ago that night, I was dragging my suitcase on the streets at midnight, thinking I had lost everything. Now I realize back then, I just took the wrong path. Find the right path, and everything will be right. The phone buzzed once. It was a message from Aunt Yin. Come to the shop tomorrow to pick up the flowers. I've saved the best ones for you. I replied with a single word. Okay, outside the window. The moon was full. I closed the window and walked into the living room. Mom. Duo looked up at me and called out. I was momentarily stunned. She looked at me, smiling with her eyes crinkling. Mom said, I can call you Little Mom from now on. Is that okay? I walked over and touched her head. All right. Sujin poked her head out from the kitchen and smiled at me. I sat back on the sofa, leaning against the soft cushion, watching the people singing and dancing on TV. Duo leaned against me, her little hand clutching the corner of my shirt. Occasionally, the sound of a car passing by could be heard outside, distant, as if from another world. In this small living room, there is only warm light so good